you select the major results and you evaluate them. Okay? How far you agree with those results, and you compare them with results in other studies. You compare them with what you mentioned, what you already told us in the introduction literature review. You can still look for more literature review. It doesn't mean you're because critical thinking is not when you get to this phase you forget about the other phases. No, it's going forward and backward. You continue doing this. You see, because you need to keep looking at it from different angles and even at different times. Sometimes you leave your work for a week or so. It's an interactive process. Thank you, Iyad. So you leave your work and then you come back to it with a refreshed, if you know, or with a new reflection, with a new mindset. If you look, and you can, you know, some researchers, what they do, they lay all their results, you know, on the walls sometimes, on the tables, and they keep looking at them, you know, until they can start seeing the relationships. That's B, showing the okay. Result 1 is related to result number 7, and you explain how. And it's also related to what this research mentioned, or it doesn't. You see, so this is how you. It's finding the connections, finding all the links between the different results. One of the things we tell our students, is there anything in the result that you did not expect? Because now the student is starting to reflect. Oh, at the beginning I was expecting this, but then what I found is different. Or it's just I found what I was expecting. So that's thinking. Yeah, and we have a rubric actually that evaluates students' writing the discussion, and we look at these points. How much of these is he using in terms of, for example, did he mention somewhere that this result was expected or not? Did he mention somewhere that this, you know, this is what he was expecting, and why? Of course, whatever in research, whatever you mention, you need to justify. You know, there's always this, you know, wording like because, as, since, looking at, compare. You know, there are certain words actually that evaluators look at in your writing that shows that you are thinking critically. Yeah. If you're just at the level of describing and repeating the results, you're not discussing, you're not thinking, you're just repeating or telling us what people said, right? Also, contradictions. Yeah, so yeah. D is we ask students: is there any contradictions? For example, participants at, you know, let's say there is a questionnaire, and in item number 3 they said something, and then later on they said something different, and so on. That's also you know, critical thinking. You are evaluating, you are weighing the results. You're not just accepting them. Dr. Malak said the researcher's voice. Okay, of course, here in the discussion, this is where you stand. This is where you show your positionality as a researcher. This is where you give your opinion, because now you're becoming an expert in the topic. You've done a lot of work, you've done a lot of reading. We would like to listen to you. Okay? And your voice is important. Your voice has weight. But as I mentioned, whatever you say, you need to justify. You need to exemplify sometimes as well. And you need to, whatever you say, you need to relate it to other things, another result, another study, so even sometimes to logic. It just makes sense. It's logical. Yeah. Then we ask our students to recognize limitations, and this is where, for example, here they can talk about bias. You see, and you have to have the courage to show that there is a possible bias there. An example, for example, me as a coordinator of the course, I did research about our course myself, and I interviewed some teachers. Me interviewing them, there's a kind of a bias because they might try to say something just to please me, yeah, or to praise the course because they are also part of the of the course. They built the course and so on. So that you need to because research is all about transparency. What is the possible bias there? And you need to talk about it and show where you stand. The last thing, of course, and this is the purpose of the research, is so what? We've done all of this. We have all of these results. So what's the benefit? Okay, how can we make use of the your results and your we call it your interpretation of the results and your judgments about how things went and so on. What is the implication? The implication, it means how far these results can affect our context. Yeah. So you look at it like in the form of moving towards the practicality of the result. How can we implement them? Yeah. And of course, this makes you takes you to making recommendations, making suggestions. And also there is a lot of critical thinking here. How we can move from just results and thinking about the results and evaluating the results to the to making use of them in our life. And this is why why we're doing research. And this is where you show the value of your research. Okay? As I mentioned at the beginning, what is most important about research is what is the added value. We don't want to do research just for the sake of I did it and I have the results, everything is fine. But then where is it in life? Where is it in your own life? So this is an advice. Whoever wants to embark on any research, he has to select something that is useful, something that is that is going to affect his or her life and also the life of the community. Yeah. And as I said, in our course, we use rubrics to evaluate students' work. It's both, we look at it both from the language side, how clear it is, how convincing it is, how coherent, and so on, and also from the ideas and the critical thinking and all the elements I mentioned here, how much evaluation is there? Is he, showing relationships between the different parts or the different sections of the research, and also relationship between the different results, any unexpected results, any contradictions, and also limited. One of the things we could also include in critical thinking, actually, I'm sure most of you, they hear about the logical fallacies. Yeah, teaching them and getting students used to such fallacies also helps with critical thinking, and you can see that in the product. Yeah. I want to give you an example where when I did a little research, my supervisor told me this is good critical thinking. You see, we learn from examples. We had a module where we studied leadership in education, and then we were asked to write an assignment about it and then present it in front of a big audience. Yeah, and I remember I did it in the ELI. I gave my presentation there, but I was asked as part of my doctoral course to reflect on the experience. That's also critical thinking, to evaluate and so on. So when I mentioned this, my doctor or my supervisor said, Abdulaziz, this is good critical thinking. What I did is I evaluated the audience, my audience, who were present to watch my presentation and to attend my presentation. First of all, I was happy because, mashallah, I had a big number. But then after I got the news that it was actually a requirement from the administration that they must attend, otherwise, you know what's going to happen. So then my enthusiasm actually, uh, went down because of that. But that's not what I my focus on where how did my supervisor see the critical thinking? He saw it when I evaluated the audience and looking at it how people are seated. You see, so we had usually in our culture when we meet in a big place. Usually, the very important people, where do they sit? Where do where does the dean and everybody sit? Where do they sit? Can you? Do they sit at the back? They take they take the front row. Thank you, Mustafa. They take the front row. That's the culture here. Yeah. So when I left, I started actually questioning. So critical thinking is also questioning the status quo. So this is the situation. Whenever we have a big meeting like this, these people, I call them the leading coalition, if you like, in my research. They sit at the front. But when we studied leadership styles, we found that there are different types of leadership. You could lead from the front, you could lead from the middle, or from the back. So I questioned that seating arrangement. What if these guys sat in the middle and they mixed with everybody, with the teachers, with the students? How does it feel in terms of leadership? Yeah, does it affect? Yeah, thank you, Iyad. Does it affect their leadership or not? Yeah. So that questioning, when I questioned the whole situation, how we were sat and everything, Mustafa said, of course, it depends. But the critical thinking is questioning. And then, of course, you go and read the literature about leadership, about the different styles, and then you support what you say with all of that. But it's coming from, where is it coming? From your context, right? You see it. Okay, you sit and that's critical thinking, because critical thinking is also spotting things, seeing things, because you've been thinking about the whole thing for a long time, and you get, so that's that's something that they want to see in your research. It means whatever you've done, how does it affect your context? Yeah. And what possible recommendations you can make? I said, well, let's think about it. Maybe if I were a member of the in the coalition, or I would perhaps sit in the middle or at the back. Okay, let's try it. For example, you can make this recommendation to the dean. Well, Mr. Dean, what about you sitting in the middle? Somebody said it depends, but of course there are many things to look at. But I'm just giving you an example. And it's very important to discuss with your supervisor, how can I show you that I have critical thinking? Where? Yeah, reflective research filters down the reflective. Sorry, hang on just a minute. Let me. Yeah, exactly. Reflective teaching filters down to reflective. Reflective research. Yes, and actually, as teachers, and this is very important, I think, we have to research our context, our teaching ourselves. It's becoming now, a requirement. You cannot just go on and continue and do what you're doing without reflecting, without researching, without using critical thinking and seeing what people think about what you do. I think that's called action research, probably. Right. Let me just close this. Also, as a critical thinker, as I said, try to be open-minded. try not to be defensive, because sometimes when you have an idea in our mind, we just try to defend it, and that's it. You see, be open and accept the other possible interpretations of the result. You see it from one angle, maybe there's another interpretation. And then at the end of the research, you go to, yeah, of course, that's bias, of course. You don't want to be biased, yeah? When you are defensive, you are you are biased, yes. So try to be open. Now, at the end of your research, what do? We pave the way for the others, for the other researcher, because research never stops. You got here, you only discussed your context and so on. What next? How can you help me as a researcher, building on your results, on your recommendations and so on? And this is why usually you hear this, you see this question, in future research, they should do such and such. That's also critical thinking, because what you're saying, this is what I have for you, but then this is what is missing. This is where you can go. So you set the directions for the coming researchers, where to go and what to research. That's also part of critical thinking. So as I said, critical thinking starts from the very beginning, from area selection. Start with your interest, and then your topic, then the focus, yeah. Then go to your data collection. Again, select the suitable methods of data collection. Think about the participants. Also, when you analyze the data, that's also part of your method of research method. It also includes how you're going to look at your data, and how you're going to analyze them, and so on. And then when you get to the real what's the word? There's something in the state that matter. Can anybody help me with the word? But anyhow, when you get to the real thing, yeah, the actual. Now there's a term which I cannot find now, but anyhow, which is actually, I'm talking about data analysis and discussion. So this is the heart of the thing. This is where you show your critical thinking. This is where you stand. You show your voice. You show all the relationships between the different results. You interpret them, yeah, as you like. Thank you, Faisal, and so on. And then after all of that, what's next? What's the future? The future outlook of your research. Where should people go after this? Yeah. Of course, you talk about the recommendations and so on, but then if somebody wants to do research similar to yours in a similar topic, what should he look at? What was missing? Yeah, this is actually one of the critical thinking is for example, when I write a questionnaire, then there are certain items of the questionnaire which I missed. I wish I asked the participants to answer this, yeah, but I missed it. And then you suggest this to the researcher. You make sure you add, for example. Another thing that we look at sometimes in a questionnaire, students, they usually start in a certain pattern. They start with, let's say, age, gender, occupation, yeah, and then they move on. You will be questioned for every item you put on the questionnaire which you didn't use later. You asked people for their age. Where is it in your results? Where is it in your discussion? Then why did you waste your time and people's time? Same thing with gender. Some people ask, they want people to say, okay, and then what? You collected all this data, then what? So every decision you make in research, you will be accountable for. You'll be questioned. selecting the questionnaire or an interview or whatever. And even in the questionnaire or when you do the survey, the items that are there, why are they there? And what is missing? That's also part of critical thinking. I just want to, to give you like an overall view of research and where critical thinking can go. I hope, that this meeting has just opened up some thinking, some critical thinking for you. And if you have any questions, any queries, any comments, feel free to jump in, please. It's really a very interesting thing because critical thinking is us. We are thinkers, we're humans, and what distinguishes us from all other creatures is thinking. Most importantly is valuable research that has value, please. Thank you all very much. Jazakumullahu khair for attending, and inshallah we meet in another meeting. All the
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulaziz. This was very, very informative. Definitely one aspect of research that sometimes gets overlooked: critical thinking, especially novice researchers. So thank you so much, really, for
my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So if anyone has any questions, you can definitely post them now into the chat. This is also the link for the feedback form. So please send us your feedback and also register your names for to get your certificate soon. Also, if you would like to collaborate with us, present any research-related topics in the future, we will be very, very happy to assist you with that. And if there are no questions, so maybe we can just wrap it up now and end the session. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Abdulaziz. We really appreciate your presence with us tonight. And everyone else here also, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I wish you a pleasant evening.
Yes, and a big thank you to all of the people who attended. Jazakumullahu khair.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Alaikum salam.